All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the MPO board meeting. It's Monday, January 26, 2026 at 9 a.m. We are called to order. At this time, I will ask Mr. Hutchinson to confirm a quorum. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum, and we have several board members that were either feeling well or out of town or other local government business, but we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. And I would like to recognize and welcome alternates or new members. Vice Mayor Jim, is it Bolt?
Bolt.
Yep. Right, okay. City of Venice, and any other elected officials in the audience that we didn't see? Of course, I recognize an old elected official in the audience that he'll be speaking. Old. Yeah. All right, what about TAC and CAC members? Please stand. Thank you for your service. We appreciate that. We've got 3 in the audience, so thank you for being here. At this time, I'd like to call on Mayor West to provide the invocation and then lead us in the start of the pledge. If we'd please stand.
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for the rain that has come this morning. Lord, we thank you for just being with us as we are here to deliberate this morning. And please guide us and help us do the very best we can for this beautiful place, the Southwest Florida, that you've given us to live. Lord, we ask all of these things in your precious name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor West. And I think it's as we go through things in our country, I think it's very important always to always recognize our God and with the prayer, and also one nation under God with our pledge. So thank you for that. Okay, public comment. Mr. Dave, would you please read the statement for the public comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Brown. I'll do these others on my report. So on the screen, there are 4 ways listed for the public to provide input to the board. All comments will be shared with the board members and made part of the public record. We're going to try to live stream the meeting as publicly noticed, and it'll also be available on METV and the MPO YouTube page later. And we did receive one speaker under the public comments section, and you have that card, and with that you can move forward in 2 cards.
Right, yeah, I have 2 comments, and what we do is on the public comment, when you come up, please state your name and who your organization is, and you'll have 2 minutes. So first I have Charles Hines.
Good morning, everyone. Charles Hines, Trust for Public Land, Florida Gulf Coast Trail Director. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to address you at the beginning of the new year. And again, Happy New Year. And my request for you, and really for all of our 2 communities, is let's try to make 2026 the year of the trail, the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. We have a lot of things going on right now that are under construction, that are in planning, that can really take us from what I'll call a nice little trail system, but isolated trail systems, to something that's truly connected, that can be something that people can use for a true transportation alternative to get to work, to school, for our tourism. We can really do it. So you look, last year we had 2 major overpasses in Sarasota County. River Road's under construction right now. Beneva Road's under construction right now, getting up to Nathan Benderson Park. You got a PD&E going on in regards to Bradenton. We have earmarks for the city of Palmetto to start doing some planning there. Lakewood Ranch is doing a lot on its own, thanks to them putting trails together. So, but it takes leadership. It takes leadership, and you are the leaders in this community that pick priorities, what's to be funded, what's their importance. I'm here to help you in any way that we can. If you need information of why trails are a good investment for your community, whether it's safety or economic development, for mental health, physical health, any of it. And I want to give a plug to Commissioner Cruz. Unfortunately, he's not here today, but prior to the end of the year last year, he wrote a really good article that talked about transportation and where we need to go as a community, and trails were a very important part of that. So if you didn't read his article, please do. I can get it to you, or obviously he can. And let's start thinking about trails in 2026. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have Glenn Compton, please.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Compton. I'm here on my own behalf. I want to draw attention to a dangerous situation on US 41 and Oscar Shear State Park entrance. It's a very popular place, so you have a lot of pedestrian access coming from the south, going to the park on bicycles and walking on 41. There's no sidewalk there because the developments south of Oscar Shear are older developments, and there wasn't any requirement for sidewalks. So you're pretty much forced to use the bicycle lane that is, on US 41. Now, this represents the length, the width of the bicycle lane that you have on the south side of the South Creek Bridge. It's 2 feet wide. On this side, you have a concrete bridge, and on this side, you have a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, and it is creating a very dangerous situation. And I want to emphasize to you that this is an extremely popular section of US 41 for pedestrians, because what bicyclists are doing is they're using the park to access the Legacy Trail. The section of US 41 there is being remilled right now by FDOT. I've contacted them. I suggested that if you could just make the bicycle lane a little bit wider, that would help. And so that's why I'm here. I'm hoping that MPO can, make a suggestion that during the remilling that you could re-engineer it a little bit, make it a little bit wider and a little bit safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson, we have no other public comment, but I would open it up to the board to comment on anything. And I know Wayne Gaither's here with DOT today, so he was writing things down, heard that. And I would like to say we had another fatality on Manatee Avenue this past couple weeks ago, but unfortunately, the person did pass, but they were in the mid-block. We've got to get our pedestrians and bicyclists to make sure that they're going in the crosswalks, they're going in the places, because when you look at most of the accidents, or a lot of the accidents, I don't want to say most, but a lot of the accidents are preventable if they're in crosswalks or on the proper places. So any other board members, any comments to that? Yes, sir, Mr. Hutchinson.
I will note that we did convey the written with photos email for Mr. Compton to FDOT. There is a resurfacing project upcoming where there may be an opportunity to widen the bike lane portion in that area, or come up with some other, I will say, fix for that situation. And it's a short but important piece of US 41, and we see the difficulty in retrofitting, especially our main system.
Well, I know we have a lot of bridges, and one's coming up in Manatee County, Cortez Bridge, that is going to be a lot more biker, walker friendly. Now it's just getting the rest of the grid, and then Manatee Avenue will be done, and then hopefully one day our beloved DeSoto Bridge will be the same thing.
You have a few more houses going in on the east side of the bridge too.
Yes. Yeah. All right, moving forward, we have agenda item number 4, the Public Transportation Task Force. First up is Manatee County. Do we have Katie Sheffer here? Good morning.
Good morning.
Moving forward, we have agenda
All right,
item
just a
number 4, the
few
Public
updates
Transportation
for
Task
you.
Force. First up is
All right,
Manatee
our
County.
monthly ridership has sustained over the last few years, just over 150,000 for the month of December and the month of November. October, you could see was over 175,000, significant increase from 2024. Obviously, we had our, active hurricane season that year. Our Veterans on Demand service, we've averaging, we've done over 2,200 trips since January 2025. This is a free service for our veterans to take medical trips here in Manatee County. And we have seen a significant increase over the last few months. Our longboat key service, we're averaging about 500 trips per month. The average cost is anywhere from $3 to $6 for riders and $29.68 for the county. Our longboat key service, we're averaging about. Our ferry, we still have 2 ferries operating, hopefully a third here sometime in the spring. We've exceeded 53,000 trips for the month, for the year of 2025, and hopefully that you'll see a significant increase once we have that third vessel up and running. Sometime in the spring, we've exceeded 53,000. And that is our quick update.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, sir. I will tell you that we are just beyond pleased on how the Gulf Island ferries are working. If you haven't used them yet, it's a great opportunity to get off the road and get on a boat and travel out to the barrier islands. It's a great service, and we're looking forward when our new ship comes in, our new boat comes in. It'll be basically a covered ferry that will be able to hold more people and will allow us to, even in climate weather, to be able to take people back and forth from the mainland to the barrier islands. Our on-demand service continues, but our veterans continues to increase. As we know that Manatee County has about 42,000 veterans, and this service it's a great service for our veterans, and we ask them if you're a veteran that needs to go somewhere, please use this service. Excuse me, please use this service. It's free to you. They'll take you doctor's trips and stuff like that. It's not to go out to lunch or go out to dinner on or anything like that, because we've had those calls, but it is for doctor's trips and go to the pharmacy and things like that and get basic needs. But our transit department continues to do a great job, and we're just really pleased how both services are working out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Ron. Yes, sir, Commissioner Chair Sadiq.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to iterate some of those comments, and then also thank Sarasota County for the partnership with Breeze on the Route 99 as one of our most popular routes down the spine of our community on 41. Our board is still looking at hearing a report from MCAT on changes to the routes so that we can consider more frequent bus service and expanding throughout the urban corridor. So there's no surprises with Dave and MCAT, but we've had a lot of conversations around increasing frequency, which increases ridership. So our board is still yet to hear a plan, but at some point in the spring, we should hear more and come back to the MPO with an update on that. Just want to thank Sarasota County, though, because we rely on that partnership.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I think Mayor Chappie would probably echo this, and I'm pretty consistent since I live looking down at the launch area in Bradenton, where yesterday the ferry didn't run, and I'm sure Mayor Chappie would notice on Saturday that ferry was packed, and since he's the only landing point right now in Bradenton Beach, they probably were a lot busier at their businesses on Saturday than unfortunately yesterday because of the wind. But the new boat, which is they're just getting the trial and the docks ready, would have run yesterday, and it's very important to keep that going. And I say that to say this. As soon as we can get some of the other stuff done, I challenge our Sarasota neighbors to try to figure out how we make that ferry have 5, 6, 7 stops from Palmetto to Bradenton to the islands to Sarasota. And I think it's something that has proven taken thousands of cars off the road. And it may not seem like a lot, but add those thousands of cars over all these trips during the time, and it makes a difference. And also, it's just fun. I think it'd be cool to be able to go from Palmetto Bradenton area all the way to the islands, to St. Armand Circle, to downtown Sarasota without ever getting in a car, and back and forth. And it's the infrastructure part of it is already started. So now Sarasota would have an easier way to see the proving it with all of our neighbors to the south. So thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Mr. Chair, I think
Yes, sir.
I think the MPO board should do a field trip.
Yeah, on it. That's definitely, that would be,
Take a ride on the new ship.
yep.
Brian's taking notes.
She's taking
Yes,
it, so,
absolutely.
good. And Mr. Hutchinson.
At the Island Transportation Planning Organization Board meeting, which was actually held last week, the city of Anna Maria reported that they're in the process of getting the dock replaced, and they are already in discussions with the Tourist Development Council and Manatee County regarding what can be done to provide for appropriate facilities so that they'll be able to dock the ferry up in Anna Maria.
Right.
So that's good news.
No, it's definitely was a great idea for 30, 40 years, and thank goodness that, several years ago, Manatee County through the TDC and all the cities bought in Manatee County. All right, moving up, next we have Sarasota County Breeze Transit Quarterly Report. Jane Grogg from Sarasota County Breeze will present. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Jane Grogg, Director of Transit for Breeze. With me also this morning is Tamara Shells, our new Planning and Performance Manager. She'll be giving the TDP update as soon as I finish the quarterly update. I will be brief. You have a very long agenda today. I just want to touch on our total ridership, showing an increase over the previous 2 years. Very encouraged by that, as well as our stacked demonstration of ridership that includes the fixed route service on the bottom, our on-demand service, and our Breeze Plus service as well. The Sarasota County Commission was very busy in November, December with several items related to transit. I'll just touch on a few key highlights. Very pleased to complete an interlocal agreement with our friends and partners at the City of Sarasota for the Bay Runner service. So Breeze is now managing that service, and you can find those routes within our Breeze Rider app. Additionally, there were some grant agreements and our annual required productivity and performance measures report. And some of our exciting purchases were related to our scheduling and planning software that will enable us to commingle our on-demand and our paratransit services. And so we're moving forward to that transition to a single provider for both of those services, with the intent of gaining some efficiencies in the cost of the delivery of those two services under a single service. Also excited about our mobile fare payment software. We have entered into an agreement with Token Transit, and we're working on launching that for our bus riders to use and expand that into our other services in the future. So with that, I will wrap that so you can move on to your TDP annual update.
All right, any questions before we move to? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to Ms. Shells. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, thank you. So today I am here to provide a summary of our annual update to our transit development plan. The annual update contains a brief overview of the transit activity during the past year, as well as highlighting some trends in ridership and any service changes that occurred during that past year. We also have an updated 10-year financial plan and status updates for all of our priority projects that were identified in the major update, and a summary of some of the coordination activities that we have engaged with the MPO on. So since the completion of the major update, we have, Route 99 has become fully fare-free, and this is contingent upon the FDOT program or FDOT funding. And this occurred on July 1st. And also on July 1st, we implemented a new on-demand fare structure. We looked at some of the trends in ridership during the last few fiscal years. And as kind of noted previously, we experienced some growth in fiscal year 2024, but due to a lot of the hurricane and storm activities late in that year and early fiscal year 2025, some of the ridership numbers went down for fiscal year 2025, but we have been seeing increases. And of course, our on-demand service still continues to grow. We updated the 10-year operating capital program, so this includes updated financial tables for the 10-year planning period, which is 2026 to 2035. And we updated statuses on all of the priority projects. The major update identified 15 priority projects that we wanted to look at during this planning period. And this just highlights a few of those. Jane had previously mentioned the progress that we made with the Bay Runner trolley transition and also the mobile fare payment system. One of the other priority projects we identified was the Siesta Key shelter improvement, and that has gone through county permitting process and expecting to begin construction in late April following peak season. And transit signal prioritization pilot project that we're working with FDOT. We have installed equipment on our buses, and we are currently running some tests to evaluate the equipment. So in the major update, we identified a coordination program, and within that program, we set aside some goals, and one of those was to meet quarterly with the MPO. And we have scheduled those meetings and started conducting those meetings. And we worked with the MPO in looking at the scope for their upcoming regional transit feasibility study, and looking forward to continuing working with them on that project. And we also participated in several plan reviews during that time period as well. So the annual update to our transit development plan was seen by our board in December. And following today's summary that we're sharing with you, we will then be able to send it to the Florida Department of Transportation for their approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question for you on your transit signal prioritization. It's something we're looking at on the Manatee side, but mainly with boxes at this, starting with the boxes at the signals. Where are you looking to trial that out, or doing that right now?
That is just on US 41 corridor.
Oh, 41.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it. I was just curious if it was the same one. I was tracking that particular project too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to take a moment and thank our staff. You guys do, your data is like amazing. It's been very beneficial for us to go through the level of efficiencies that you have found for our routes to try to make sure that we are not only expediting them, but we are using them in the areas that get the most service and the most use. And so it really helps us to be able to then find those areas, do anything we can to enhance them as we move through that ever-changing growth of population here, there, and everywhere throughout our counties. And you've also taken on several partnerships with both municipalities and our neighboring counties. So I want to say thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question or comment. You might not have any information now because it's only been since July 1. But the Route 99 that's in Manatee County, it's been free for a couple of years because all of it's free in Manatee County. Have you noticed any statistics that show one way or the other that there's more riders now coming into Sarasota County or leaving Sarasota County coming to Manatee County?
We have been tracking the ridership on the route since implementation of the fare free, and our ridership has increased. We've noticed steady increases every month since that implementation.
So you don't really probably keep track of how many people go from Manatee County to Sarasota and then back, or do we know if it's Manatee or Sarasota residents going back and forth?
Right now, we don't have that data.
All right.
We are currently conducting a passenger mile sampling survey, so we may be able to pull some of that kind of origin destination information from that.
And if it's work-related or just pleasure-related, it would be interesting to see that who is actually riding back and forth, or is it one way more than from Manatee to Sarasota or Sarasota to Manatee? That would be interesting, I think, to see. And obviously, there's a lot of other issues that could play into that to help.
Mm-hmm. We do periodically conduct onboard passenger surveys, and some of that information can be pulled from that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hutchinson.
Yeah, I would add that the Transit Signal Prioritization Project was an MPO priority that we've worked for several years with both Breeze and MCAT and the Florida Department of Transportation to use the MPO funding to conduct this as a pilot project so that it could serve, if successful, as a model for improving transit and reducing congestion in other corridors as well. And Ryan's got lots of details on that if you need that or want that. We also have upcoming that you'll hear about in our strategic plan, regional transit study in the next year that will be looking into the types of issues that you just asked about as far as the origins and destinations.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to reports, and we have Florida Department of Transportation, Wayne Gaither in for today, for District 1.
I will be brief. First, Secretary Driggers offers his apologies. He was pulled away late last night in Call of Duty for addressing some certain FDOT-related projects concerning District 1. So he's hard at work taking care of the district right now. But one of the things that we discussed was to have a quick conversation on earmarks and the earmark process that goes through. This is similar information that I've shared in past years as far as earmarks go. But we do have some more additional board members, some new board members. Pursuing a earmark is certainly the choice of the local municipalities or counties as they're pursuing projects that come through. But what happens through the process, the legislative process, is you are in essence circumventing the work that you do with the MPO and the establishment of the priority projects that are in place. So if a project is approved through the earmark process, it takes priority over the existing list of priority projects that we are currently working on. We do make adjustments at that point to our work program, and then we end up having to work that project into the existing budget. Generally speaking, what happens with a earmark is there is no additional funds that come in. Money comes from one of two places. One is from the Transportation Trust Fund, in which case you're competing with, or your priority projects are competing then for the funding for your earmark projects. Or two, they come from the general revenue. If you can get that box checked that the funding comes from the general revenue, that is additional funding that comes into the area. That does not go into competition with the list of priority projects or the projects that are identified as priorities for your region through the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Easier way to handle those kind of projects. It also does not impact our budget, which is the authority that allows us to spend the funding that we have currently available to us. The other is a topic that's been out for quite a bit for discussion. It's been sent out to the MPOs, and it has to do with the new policy that the Florida Department of Transportation has come up with. There have been a couple steps that have been taken to try and enhance and make more efficient the prioritization of projects and to make sure that we get projects across the finish line, basically completed. One of which was to put some restrictions, timeline constrictions on the PD&E, project development and environmental studies that are done. We're wanting to make those as best as possible, as concise as we can. What we've noticed is that during the PD&E process, new ideas pop up which impacts the scope of the overall study. Scope gets changed, then the overall study gets changed, and then the timeline on the study gets extended. Our intent is to really try to work with the locals as best we can to ensure that when we go after a PD&E, we've got the ability to go after exactly what you're looking for, and that we're not having issues with scope creep that come in. And another policy that's come into place has to do with the timeline for having a project get into construction. The policy identifies an 8-year window. Again, the intent is to make sure that we are pursuing projects in a timely fashion, that we can basically make the most of the work that's been done and the finances that are available to get a project across the finish line, which is through completion. We have had a history, unfortunately, of having projects that have exceeded the normal timelines that were established for a project. Generally speaking, it's about an 8-year window, 10-year window to move a project across. There will be some special cases that need to be discussed for some larger projects that happen. We're ready to have those discussions with the locals and in metropolitan planning organizations specifically. But the intent and what we want you to take away from these new policies is that we want to be able to move projects through in a timely fashion and stay as close as we can to the financial budget that we've got established for those projects as best as we can. And I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Questions? Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wayne, quick question. So as a county, and I'm sure many of us, all of our municipalities are in the same boat, when it comes to earmarks, we're obviously pursuing surface transportation reauthorization and the grant funds associated with it. So are you saying that if we pursue those grant funds if we pursue those federal funds, that it takes away from funds that would go to our FDOT district?
Not federal funds. Those would, I'm speaking specifically of state funds.
Oh,
Funds
state
that-
earmarks, not congressional.
State earmarks that would go through the state legislature.
Okay.
Federal earmarks are good too. The only concern that we have with federal earmarks at that point is different departments that are out there. We have, I believe the Manatee area, there was some funding that was associated with HUD. That's outside the Department of Transportation. Federal funds are brought into the state through the state departments that most resemble the work that's being done. So if you get grant funds for transportation that come from the US DOT, that would come through the Florida Department of Transportation.
Yep.
For HUD funding, that would go through a local state agency that is similar to what HUD does. The department, the Florida Department of Transportation, does not manage those funds. So those funds come to you through another state agency. The federal dollars would come to you through another state agency.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a comment? Okay. One of the things, and I'm glad you brought it up because some of it's understanding things, and I think for a lot of differences. And in today's social media world, things move so quickly. And when we're looking at 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years, it is frustrating. And as elected officials that may, some have term limits, 8 years, you want to see stuff getting done. So I don't think anybody with some of the earmarks ever were trying to supersede things. They were just trying to move them quicker. And, if we're working as a team, it does work better. But I'm glad to hear that they're trying to put some timelines on, because some of the corridor studies in Manatee County, it seems like we've done it now. I've been on for 13 years almost, and now we're doing it again. And, so it's not that people want to override something. They're just frustrated because of time, because we hear it every day on boots on the ground. And so I appreciate, trying to work up a timeline where you can move. And probably one of the biggest things in Manatee County that's happened is I saw that probably hopefully within the next few months, the Cortez Bridge will start, which I think people have, not all people like it, but they've accepted that it can be a better transportation after look at the Great Bridge in Sarasota County that happened many years ago that has now been very successful. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Moving on to the MPOAC report. I don't have a big report, just the meeting is this week. Unfortunately, they moved the date around, so it's during one of our council meetings, so I won't be able to attend, but something with the hotel, but normally they fall on off dates, so I'm sad to miss that. But I have offered again to be on the executive board, and I think things are starting to move. Amanda Carpenter now has been in there almost a year and really doing a great job as the executive director. I think moving things a lot smoother and faster and knowledgeable coming from DOT. Unfortunately, they're going to lose probably the most knowledgeable person we have, but filling with a young knowledge. We're losing Dave on that board all the years, and Ryan will replace him. But so we know we're getting good young knowledge, but sometimes that seasoned knowledge works better. So, but that's all I have for now. Back on the next report. MPO Executive Director report. Mr. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Chair Brown. Just for any new members or visitors, the MPOAC stands for Metropolitan Planning Organization Advisory Council. It's established in state statute, and it's an organization of all of the MPOs in the state that are represented there, and serves as a conduit for information and discussion between the state and the MPOs collectively, and the Federal Highway, et cetera, Federal Transit Administration. So I have a fairly brief report. I would report to you, as you saw in your emails, that our office move is accomplished. It is successful. There's a possibility that once we get the appropriate audio-visual system in there, that it could actually be a place where board meetings could be held. And you see Ryan up here today. He'll be your director beginning in less than 2 weeks now. So he and David Machado worked really hard to smooth that move. I've been through two; they're not fun. And those of you who are moving your county offices or city offices know that as well. Wanted to introduce new staff. One of the things that I was hoping would happen, and it did, is we've hired his replacement for his planning manager job. Megan Louie, and she can stand if you would, Megan, comes to us most recently as planning and performance manager for Breeze Transit. So congratulations to Tamara in taking on that role at Breeze. Megan holds a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Hawaii. She's worked across North America, in Canada and the U.S. with 20 years of experience in transportation planning, mostly public sector, multiple levels of government from school boards, municipalities, counties, and transit. So she's a great addition to our staff, and thank you for joining us. And Jane Lee has joined our staff as transportation planner. Jane just graduated from Northwestern University with a master's degree in transportation systems analysis and planning. She brings 3 years of experience in transportation analytics and advisory work in the consulting world, and she's will be a great contributor to our stakeholder engagement efforts and our long-range plan efforts under with Nina and Nick, who are happy to have some help since Varshini left. And last but not least, Nanette retired after many years, 25 years with the MPO, and leaving Rachel McLean as our most long-standing employee, by the way. And Kelly DeForest, so is going to be the new executive assistant. She has over 15 years of experience supporting executives and board-related activities at organizations, most recently including maybe not most recently, but Tampa International Airport and the Hillsborough Airport Authority. So she's worked with our types of meetings before. She worked at Georgia Institute of Technology and is well-versed in agendas and meeting prep, and will be a great addition to our team. She lives in West Bradenton with her husband and 4 children. So,
All the new staff.
great to leave with a full staff, or so that Ryan's not having to do everything himself. He might. You don't want to. I would have felt bad. And I want to just add, since this is my last meeting, that I don't say goodbye, but I'll see you later, hopefully, and around. Since I moved to Florida with my young family and kids in middle school in 2000, joined the Sarasota MPO in 2011, we've had lots and lots of growth in our region. The state has grown by well over 35% since 2000. The funding for transportation hasn't gone up because the national formulas haven't changed, but the state funding has gone up some. Some sources went away, some have grown. We've had horrific storms. Growth continues. We've had recessions and a pandemic. Lots of changes, but lots of progress in transportation. With board direction, the MPO staff has worked on many transportation project successes, big and small. You've heard of some of them today, and you'll hear about more later. We had the Venice bypass that was, took quite a few years of many, board discussions and guidance and direction and coordination with FDOT. State Road 64 widening both east and west of I-75. massive projects on I-75, including the diverging diamond at University Parkway, capacity and operational improvements throughout the region in every jurisdiction, and those included things like medians, turn lane extensions, sidewalks, and trails, and lots of technology being added to the system. So, lots of projects on US 41, which we had identified as a multimodal emphasis corridor, and those range from capacity and safety and bicycle, pedestrian, and operational improvements, including roundabouts, to transit improvements, a lot in that corridor and other places. Our best successes have come from data-driven, performance-based planning, focused priorities, and maintaining collaborative partnerships with the Florida DOT and amongst ourselves. Funding challenges are persistent. Those aren't going to go away. But one thing I've observed is that funding follows plans. Shovel-ready projects are important. That can get you to the front of the line. And now isn't the time to slow down, but to keep the pedal to the metal. Now, that expression, I think some people, we don't have metal floors in our cars anymore, unless you have an old Jeep or an old pickup truck. But, now we don't want to slow down on planning. We want to keep doing what you're doing because it's working. The board involvement from having project champions to support for regional priorities is crucial to this process. And you have a highly competent, dedicated, and diligent staff, and they're here to help, try to get funding for your priorities that go through this regional process. The Bradenton-Palmetto Connector remains the highest priority for state funding. The MPO has committed funds. I was hoping Secretary Driggers would be here to hear this, but Wayne will have to share this. For numerous analyses, feasibility studies, and PD&Es, and the need for the bridge capacity project is supported by the data. And I hope to be invited to a groundbreaking event, ribbon cutting, and later a ribbon cutting, hopefully in the next few years. So I got to keep our eye on the ball. This whole idea of project deliverability, you'll hear more about later, because we saw this coming. We've seen that some projects weren't successful, and what can we do to learn from those experiences and the successful ones. So you'll hear about the transportation investment analysis later in today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. That's a great report, and I'm going to kind of go in Chair's report and basically be about recognizing you. And one of the things that I said earlier about the knowledge that we lose, you've really, I think, tried to pass it on to your successor. And that's where I think most of us up here, if you're setting your organization up to succeed, you're training that younger generation. And the reason that we know he's the younger generation is because he doesn't wear socks. And I'm looking at it right now. So generationally, we are changing, because I don't know any of us old guys and ladies that don't wear socks if you got shoes and pants on, or however that works. But anyway, no, it's just, and it kind of, it's bittersweet. Obviously, I was here. I don't know if anybody else was on the board at the time. Maybe Mayor Chappie was around a little bit, and some others, but then down there, that when you were hired. And, that was a little bit more of a different type of search at that time, but we went in-house again, and it worked out very well. And the knowledge that you have throughout the state, not just in Sarasota Manatee County. So it's going to be missed, but you deserve it. And we agree, and I think probably us Manatee County people a little bit more, about that corridor study and how quick that can come. And that's why a lot of things are done, and the number one priority to make safety, traffic not seem so bad at times. But I'll read the plaque we have for you. In recognition of your retirement, presented to Dave L. Hutchinson with sincere appreciation for your dedication and leadership that helped shape our organization, Sarasota Manatee Metropolitan Planning Organization. Not just that, but statewide. So thank you very much. And before we clap, I'll see if anyone else would like to make a comment about Dave. I know I'm going out of order a little bit, but I'd rather do it now when we get to the end, because there's going to be a lot more to do at the end. So any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Dave has been the executive director ever since I've been here, and it's probably been about 10, 11 years that I've been on the MPO board. So just wanted to let him know we will miss you, and you've been, a great executive director, and I know Ryan will do an equally good job, and thank you very much.
All right, Mayor Chappie?
Yeah, ditto on that. Dave, we've known each other for a long time. You replaced Mike Howell many years ago and had big shoes to fill there. And you've done a stellar job. You've just been amazing. You really take care of the island people out there. You make sure we're aware of what's going on with the MPO. And we wish you a lot of good luck on your next journey.
Commissioner?
Echoing some of those comments, but as a new commissioner last year, I'd like to thank you for helping me with certainly the onboarding, understanding MPOs, and Ryan too. You've been in lockstep ever since. We've had a lot of good conversations about trails, and you've helped me figure out where people are hiding the money to fund trails. So, but in all seriousness, enjoy your retirement. Thank you very much, and Ryan, looking forward to working with you in the future.
Sir?
Yeah, Dave, it's been a pleasure. Your institutional knowledge has been invaluable, and wish you all the best. You deserve it. Enjoy your retirement. It's good to live life while you still have life, and so now's the time. And Ryan, I know you'll do a great job.
Appreciate it.
Dave, I've only been to a couple of your meetings, but I can tell you that from looking at it from the outside in, it's always been pretty easy to follow what's going on here. Which is saying a lot because there's a lot going on. So I commend you for that and wish you well. Thank you.
Dave, on behalf of the Longboat Key, I want to thank you for what you've done for us and for me, bringing me on board. It's been less than a year, and it's a lot of study and a lot of counsel from you, so I appreciate that. Best of luck in your future. You deserve it. Ryan, I'm not sure what age has to do with it. I'm probably twice your age, and today is one of the few days I wear socks. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's going to be great working with you. Thanks.
Dave, I just want to say what I appreciate about you the most is the passion that you have for what you do. There's a difference. I learned this a long time ago. It says, don't be nice, be kind. Anybody can be nice. It's a facade, right? To be kind means you have an investment. You're passionate about it. You care about what you do. You care about people. And you've made an investment in our community that will leave a legacy long after you are gone, which I hope is for many, many years. But have fun with those grandchildren. Travel as much as you can. And come to as many ribbon cuttings as possible because we hope we have a lot coming up.
Mr. MPO. Thank you so much for all you've done for me. When I first came on this board 3 years ago, I was kind of a babe in the woods at MPOs, and it was thank God it wasn't understanding by fire hose. You took time, you walked me through the process, you got me on board. And I have to tell you, for our chair down at the end of the table here and our board of county commissioners, we just thank you for all the hard work that you've done, not only in Sarasota, but in Manatee counties also. Your legacy will forever go on, and we appreciate it. Enjoy retirement. Have a great time, and we know Ryan is going to fill those shoes with no problem. Ryan's a great guy, always available anytime. No matter how crazy the question, he's got a better answer. So we appreciate Ryan being on board and stepping into your shoes. But Dave, thank you so much. You're a great guy. Thank you.
Mr. Hutchinson, thank you so much. So just in my short time, I just want to thank you. You're such a gentleman. I know the first time that you came in the office just a year ago, just to kind of give me some good information. I really do appreciate how you did take me under your wing like that, just kind of bring me along and to get up on what was going on with the MPO. So thank you for everything, and I know I look forward to working with Ryan as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, everything, I would reiterate exactly what everybody else has said. You have been, especially when I was new, helping me through the alphabet soup and guiding us and you have to deal with a lot of different interests and keeping us all working together. And so I want to thank you and wish you all the best in retirement. You deserve it.
Mr. Gaylor?
Mr. Chair, thank you for this opportunity. Dave, best of luck with everything in retirement. I've enjoyed working with you. I've enjoyed your friendship. You put together a good team. You're leaving the MPO in good hands with Ryan, and I look forward to seeing and working with Ryan to see where we can do with the Sarasota Manatee MPO in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, come up here.
Up
Get
there.
a quick picture. If everybody can kind of gather
Get
up
up
towards
there.
the middle here. Let Dave get in with the
I
picture.
got it. I don't need to be in his retirement picture.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna go around. You go around.
Squeeze in.
So I could give him the plaque officially.
Yes, come on.
Mayor West and
Further, scoot in.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. All right. Very good. Yep. Good job, Dave.
I like it. It says "C'est la vie" on the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't read that because that was
Internal.
yep. That's your internal stuff with staff and Ryan. And I think, again, we talk about legacy, different things, and sometimes there's shorter, longer careers and longer time in leadership. And leadership obviously is training the next generation. And if that's good in a community, I mean, sometimes you have to go outside, but if you're inside, let's make that happen. And I think Ryan, we're proud to have Ryan, and I think Chair Nunder is under the weather today, but past chair now, really did a great job at managing through that with us kind of talking and going back and forth through things. So I think we're very lucky, and it is not my son, Ryan Brown. Somebody said, why are you hiring your son for that? No, it's not my son. Yeah, but my son's my son is Ryan, but there. So that concludes my report, basically. Moving on, we will now move to item 6, the consent agenda. Mr. Hutchins will read the titles of each for the record.
Great. The consent agenda includes the approval of the Sarasota Manatee MPO board minutes of October 20th, 25, ratification of the Citizens Advisory Committee officers, the chair and vice chair for this year, as outlined in the agenda item, and other committee appointments and reappointments, updates to our policies that are routine, no major changes there, transportation improvement program modifications that require board notification but not a vote by the show of hands like amendments require. And also there is a 2050 cost feasible plan TISMO funding program, which is a section that is going to be added to the LRTP to more clearly define some of the projects that are included in that section of the long-range transportation plan. It includes funding for some of the ITS, the information technology system improvements in both counties that are upcoming. And a unified planning work program update. I believe that is to update the unified UPWP and related contractual documents with FDOT to reflect the change in executive directors.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right. And a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
And can I get who made that motion?
Commissioner Ron.
Okay, thank you.
And then I think I heard Mayor West as the second. All right, next is action items starting with 7A, Transportation Improvement Plan, the TIP amendments presented by Wayne Gaither.
Oh, you want me to do this one? All right, absolutely. So Ryan Brown, Deputy Director. For the record, I just want to cover a number of TIP amendments here for us this morning. There's quite a few. Most of them are operational in nature, either adding additional funds or capacity-related funds for the operating fixed route. As you can see in Sarasota County, 5 of the 6 on this list are related to operating funds for our transit services. The only one I will point out and mention of note is the Bobby Jones Circus Trail bike path. We added some additional funds for that as well to make sure that can get over the finish line. So that will be operated through the LAP program, local agency program. And this new project, since it was added to this, it was added into the TIP and will require this to be an amendment. Otherwise, cost-wise, that really wasn't required. In Manatee County, similar action here taken as well. Each of these 4 is related to capital assistance from Federal Transit Administration, as well as some for disabilities grants as well. So if you have any questions, Wayne and myself would be happy to answer them. These are typical and pretty standard operations related to the TIP.
All right, any questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
We have Commissioner Smith and then Commissioner Sadiq with the second. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Oh, wait, we do need a raise of hands, so
Yeah.
everyone please raise your hand as aye. Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward, action item 7B, 2022 to 2026 safety targets setting. What do we have for this, Nick? Yep, all right,
Morning, everyone.
morning.
New year, new safety targets. Just a quick reminder, this is something we do annually, and we set these safety targets, and they have to be transmitted to FDOT by February. The safety targets, we track the count and rate of the fatalities and serious injuries, as well as the rate of both of those, as well as the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And they're calculated as a 5-year rolling average, and the rates are per 100 million daily vehicle miles traveled. So why do we do this? It's federally mandated, and MPOs essentially have 2 choices. They can either support the statewide safety targets, or they can establish their own for their planning area. So what safety targets are: a statement of policy direction, priorities for the transportation system, a framework for monitoring trends and informing project selection, not necessarily predicting outcomes, and a way to coordinate safety goals among regional partners. What they are not, we don't gain or lose funding depending on if we meet or fail to meet these goals, and as a result, it's not set forth to penalize agencies in any way, and it's certainly not a replacement for, as Dave was mentioning, data-driven safety analysis and project selection, which we'll cover a little bit later. And so why does setting a target of 0 still matter? It provides a clear public-facing commitment to safety. As you can see in our lower left corner, we have a whole Destination Zero advisory group and movement to kind of reach that goal and inform safety in the region. It keeps safety at the forefront of all transportation planning and reinforces a shared statewide commitment, as FDOT and many other MPOs in the region set these targets of 0. And setting a target of 0 is really a focus on continuous improvement, not if we base it on trends, it kind of implies that a certain number of deaths or serious injuries is acceptable. So just out of curiosity from some of our other committees, what do other Florida MPOs do? Well, in 2025, the vast majority supported the state target, and some other approaches were setting a % reduction from previous years, or maintaining current numbers and rates, or a % reduction needed to reach 0. So FDOT, once again, is supporting its Target 0 initiative this year with 0 fatalities, 0 serious injuries. And this MPO is proposing, as in years past following this approach, and proposing 0 across the board, but our projected figures are 111 fatalities, fatality of rate of 1.29, 774 serious injuries, 5.4 serious injury rate, and 164 non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And as I kind of touched on at my interim safety report, now that 2020 has dropped out of the 5-year average, as well as many other safety improvements, we are seeing a decrease, which is good, but there's certainly still a long way to go to reach 0. And as part of this, we also support our transit agencies and their safety targets, MCAT and Breeze, and they set these targets based on prior trends and a whole lot of other things, and we support their goals. And I can just put those up on the screen here. And so with that, is there any questions, or could we?
Yeah, let me get if there's any questions. I think one of the things I said earlier in the meeting is education, because unfortunately in Manatee County, especially on the Cortez Road corridor between 26th Street and 14th Street or US 41, they, several years ago, DOT put all the mid-cross blocks, which you go, I think there's 6 or 8 of them between that area, and it almost is crazy looking when you drive down the road, but unfortunately the fatalities are still happening in between those. And they tried to make them closer together to get where there is some safety, but we're still seeing a few in there. And, you know, obviously, this board originally, a few years ago, was concerned with the destination or target zero, the way it came out. But I think then once it got education on it and different things, it said, yeah, our target is zero, especially in the video that they show that you're saying, well, I don't think that'll ever happen, but 50 people, and the 50 people that walk behind you are your 50 family members. So you get the point, and I think that's important to articulate. But how can we get more education? Because our last fatality on the road in Manatee County was there was a crosswalk not that far up the road and a light. So I think some of that has to play into it, where, I don't know, I hate more signage, but sometimes you just want people reading it if they think, well, I'll walk 50 feet instead of try to cut across a major 6 to 8 lane highway. So.
Yeah, and I believe this will probably come up later in the meeting, but we have a whole video series on how to use those, and there's Destination Zero mailing list, and we have blogs about it. So we're certainly working a lot with public involvement and getting the word out there on, you know, what safety improvements have been made and how to use them, and just best practices for keeping safe on our roads.
Good, thank you. All right, moving on to the next action item, 7B.
Can we get a motion to?
Yeah, just to approve it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have a motion to approve the safety targets.
So moved.
All right, we have Commissioner Mast, and then second by Commissioner Brenham. All right, we just need all of 4 say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving forward. Next, we'll have 7C, 2025 top accomplishments and 26 strategic priorities. Grace, thank you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Grace Sagowski, the Public Involvement Coordinator for the MPO. And something we do at the beginning of each year is we reflect on the previous year and put together a list of our top 10 accomplishments to present to our committees and our board, you all, since you have been a huge part in it. So I will be giving an overview of the MPO's top 10 accomplishments from 2025 today, and the full list is linked in your agenda packet. So here we go. First up is the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan adoption. We completed the last 2 phases of outreach and development of the plan last year, and it was adopted by you all in October. And we also completed the quadrennial federal certification review back in July, and we're recognized with 3 noteworthy practices, and that will be touched on later today in the meeting. We had several priorities funded in the draft tentative work program and advanced our regional planning studies, which includes a few new studies that were scoped last year and have been kicked off this month. Next is public engagement. We hosted a public workshop, 2 events, and surveys, and continued our newsletter and social media with some more creative content. And for safety, we launched the Destination Zero blog and video series, which we have 6 videos out so far, and they each touch on a different safety topic. So they're a fun and engaging way for the public to learn about roadway safety. We also rolled out an organizational safety culture improvement plan. In transit, coordination was strong, including the annual evaluation of the Transportation Disadvantaged program for Manatee and Sarasota counties. For administrative and organizational advancements, we onboarded new general planning consultants and completed a successful office relocation, as Dave mentioned earlier. MPO staff presented and attended several conferences, including the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or AMPO, and Transportation Research Board, TRB for short. And then finally, there were 27 committee meetings and 5 board meetings in 2025. So those are the highlights of the top 10 accomplishments. And we thank you all for your support. And real quick, our director Dave is very proud of our video series and thought we should highlight and show you a little clip of just one of our videos. We have 6 out now, as I mentioned, but this is just a minute portion of our pedestrian hybrid beacon video. So if you want to watch the rest of the series, it's on YouTube and on our website you could find it. Highly recommend. Here we go, if it works. Okay, it's just taking its sweet time. The play button is not functioning. Oh, it's just my fingers were working.
Boy, do I love walking. I'm glad we have pedestrian hybrid beacons in the region so I can safely cross busy roadways. Come with me, I'll show you how it's done.
Very nice.
Yes, thank you. So that was just a clip of that video itself, because then there's the portion for drivers too, approaching the PHB. But yeah, we have 6 different videos. So yeah, you can find them on our YouTube page. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Nina for the 2026 strategic priorities.
Thank you, Grace. Nina Venter, MPO staff. So now that we have an idea of what we accomplished in 2025, we take a look at what we would like to work on in 2026. So I'll just kind of breeze through this list here in four main categories: planning, implementation, administration, and engagement. On the planning end of things, we are adapting our safety performance targets, which the board just did today, adopting 2026 project priorities in March, and you'll be reviewing a draft list of that also today. Working on the draft and end of work program with FDOT, the TIP, and then ongoing collaboration with partners. We have kicked off several new planning studies as well. We are working on an organizational safety culture improvement plan, and we'll be hoping to wrap that up in June, and we'll provide an update to the board in May. We kicked off a regional freight analysis. We're working on a regional transit feasibility study, which will include a look at the water taxis. And then also a watershed and transportation asset analysis, which is sort of a next phase of the resiliency and vulnerability initiative of this MPO. On the implementation side, we are working on updating our project prioritization process as well, which is something that we do every few years, and certainly now with the adoption of the LRTP underway. We're also procured a new data platform called Locus, so we'll be getting on board with that and this tool will also be available to all of our local agency partners as well. And then implementing the long-range transportation plan. Every single bullet item that you see under the LRTP is a planning study or planning initiative that this MPO has completed and that has been adopted by this board. So with the adoption of the LRTP, we are now working on implementing those plans. On the administration end, we will be adopting a new UPWP this year for the next 2-year cycle, working with FDOT on the state certification, ongoing policy reviews, committee meetings, board meetings, and then we'll be bringing the top 10 back to you this time next year as well. And then working on engagement, as always, MPO board orientation, advisory committee orientations, continuing to work on the Destination Zero Safety Education campaign. We'd like to get some more of those videos ongoing. We've got a blog on our website as well, but we're also looking for ways to partner with some of our state and local agencies as well. We know that FDOT is doing great work on safety education in Polk County, for example. We've been in conversations about bringing that down into Sarasota Manatee as well, knowing that the education piece hugely complements the planning and engineering end of things as well. Working on the Gulf Coast Trail coordination to make sure that we're planning and implementing our Gulf Coast Trail, and then always working on outreach as we do these planning studies. So that just gives you an idea of what 2026 holds in store for us.
So any questions, or the chair will entertain a motion to affirm the 2025 top accomplishments and 2026 strategic priorities.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. There's Vice Mayor Bolt and Commissioner Sadiq. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the chair will all say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, moving on to the Ed Smith Planning Study. Brian? With Kimley Horn.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Ryan Suarez with Kimley Horn. It is a pleasure to be here today with everyone. And it has been a pleasure working with staff over the last year on this project. This includes county, MPO, and city staff. They've been a great help. We've developed a robust set of multimodal enhancements and recommendations for the corridors. In the study, here are the outcomes. Again, staff has been a big help. Now I'm going to try to keep this, I've been told to keep this to about 5 to 7 minutes because of time, so I'll do the best I can. If there are any questions, I'm going to be here at the end of the meeting so we can touch on any details if I leave anything outstanding. Again, these are the major outcomes. I'll focus on the corridor by corridor recommendations. That's where we spent the healthiest amount of time for this project. To remind everyone, the study area, you'll see it here bordered by 17th Street on the north, Fruitville on the south, US 301 on the west, and Beneva Road on the east side. You got about 9,000 to 10,000 people live in this area. It's largely residential, commercial activities, largely retail, some heavy commercial activity over in that northwest quadrant and near the railroad tracks. So there's a lot going on here. You'll see the Ed Smith Stadium there, and as opposed to looking at every single road in the study area, we did focus on about 10 select corridors. They include the city and county maintained roads that are shown here. As I mentioned, we've got a lot of projects, small and large scale, so thinking about the low-hanging fruit, what we can do quickly. The quick wins along with larger improvements, larger scale improvements as well. One of the things that it was actually county staff that charged us, well, Ryan, Kimley Horn team, well, what's most important? What do you guys suggest we do first? What we ended up doing was using the MPO, Nina mentioned it, the MPO prioritization tool, the same tool that's used to grade priority projects that come in through the MPO process. We applied that to specific segments of road, and these 5 were the top 5 ranking segments in our study area. I've got graphics and information for every single segment, and I'm just going to touch on some highlights for each one, beginning with 12th Street. 12th Street, and this is 12th Street on the west side of our study area. So think west of Tuttle, which includes the baseball, right in front of the baseball stadium, heading further west all the way to 301. The city does have some plans and has targeted this area for some redevelopment. It's zoned, well, the future land use has it, has a small section carved out for some multi-use development. We feel that because of the low volumes in terms of traffic, this is a good candidate for the types of improvements that you see here. You'll see the painted and protected bike lane, protected by those armadillos that are shown here, along with the medians. Currently, that section of road does not contain any median. This helps slow traffic down, and it allows some refuge for folks who are crossing the street on foot as well. 17th Street, I believe this is one graphic that I showed at our previous meeting. Again, 17th Street, along with a stretch on Beneva, we did see the highest incidence of crashes. Those medians are important. We were out there riding bike as well as part of a bike audit that we performed with staff. We do feel that separating on the south side, adding a wider sidewalk so that different types of users can ride their bikes and also make it safer for pedestrians would be an important improvement, along with the medians that you see here. Beneva Road, we're going to focus on the section of Beneva Road that was on the south side of our study area, which really is near the Commons, all the way up to Fruitville Road. A lot of traffic on this stretch. There were a lot of crashes. Well, relatively speaking, again, to the study area that we were focused on. You'll see the improvements that are shown here. Again, the medians are important. There's that hard line center splitter curb that you see here. We feel is significant for slowing down those left-hand turn movements. Importantly, for this stretch of road, there is some city-owned property on the east side, and we feel might be more easily acquired to be able to expand and add a wide sidewalk on that east side, which will connect up to Circus Boulevard, excuse me. And Tuttle is important. Surprisingly for us, we did see there was a lot of average daily travel on this road in competition with 17th and even that stretch of Beneva. So you got a lot of folks using this road, and we feel it's because there are a lot of community assets that are connected by Tuttle, which include the Cal Ripken rec facility to the north or near 17th, the stadium itself, and also Tuttle Elementary School. One of the things we are recommending here is to add that pedestrian signal that you see here around 10th Street. On game day observations, we did see a lot of activity there that were just not safe. And this was both on the part of pedestrians, cyclists, and a lot of the cars that were traveling through the area. In Lockwood Ridge, again, this is the second one I believe I showed at our last meeting. Traffic volumes here in the 2050 long-range plan hold steady and they're maintained. So we feel this is a good opportunity to use a lot of that right-of-way to add the multimodal facilities that you see illustrated here on this graphic. You're probably all asking yourself, well, hey, what about Ed Smith? What are we going to do about the traffic there? To put this in short, the Orioles team does a very good job of managing traffic on game days. Parking does seem to be adequate. They move people very quickly through the traffic queues and onto the lots. We do feel if there are some improvements needed, they're smaller in scale. You'll see some wayfinding improvements here. So really that's just signage, perhaps directing folks to the Cal Ripken lot instead of that north lot, which everybody seems to want to funnel to. The bike and pedestrian improvements are things such as what we're recommending on Tuttle. So these are leading pedestrian intervals at 12th Street, also the crossing at 10th and Tuttle. And then some transportation improvements. Bus shelters, perhaps a separate area for Uber and Lyft, rideshare pickup and drop off, perhaps a corral for the micromobility Evo tools that are out there now and available to Sarasota. This is the project dashboard. There are a lot of projects in our lists, again, small and large scale. We've created this to make it easy for folks to drill down and use the filter tools to get to a specific location, segment, or corridor and look to see what's being recommended in the plan. I encourage everybody to go take a look at this. Again, if you have questions, circle back to myself, the Kimley Horn team, or to MPO staff. I'd like to pause on this one because this one's important. I keep mentioning those low-hanging fruit. I will like to credit staff here. This is city and county staff. They have taken it upon themselves to put in a lot of our smaller scale improvements right into those citizen request management tools that are available so that they can be implemented and established here sooner than later. That's a big plus and a big win, I think, for everybody, for us. We prepare a lot of plans. It's like this nice to see things getting done sooner than later. For some of the bigger ticket items, there are some funding programs out there and available. What we've done in our plan is attempted to align some of those larger ticket items with funding programs that exist out there through the federal agencies and through the state. That's what I've got. Hopefully I kept to the time and made it interesting enough. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer.
Any questions? Obviously, if you've been around a while, the LECOM study was done a couple years ago. Same type of situation, and nothing moves fast, but things are happening. Gives opportunity to kind of plan other things around it, which we're doing a lot around the LECOM City Park area now. So exciting to see that happening there in that area. So Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the Ed Smith Planning Study. All right, Commissioner Smith is second.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Bolt. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Moving on to Franco. Transportation Investment Analysis.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Franco Saracino with Kittleson. Happy to be with you here today to talk a little bit about the transportation investment analysis. So as you all know, the MPO board works very hard to set priorities every year to develop a list of project priorities. Currently, 78 of the projects on your list have been listed for multiple years. As Mr. Gaither mentioned, it's perfectly normal and reasonable for a project to take years, sometimes up to 8 years to complete. But some of those projects have been on the list for 9 years or more. So that's sort of the impetus of this study. The goal of which is to dig a little deeper, do a little research on historical project evolution, to interview staff at FDOT, the MPO, to tap the vast institutional knowledge of Dave and Ryan, and to really get to the bottom of what's going on. So as I mentioned, we reviewed 10 years of FDOT STIPs. We also were tracking the evolution of projects in Sarasota and Manatee counties over those 10 years. We also looked at the last 10 years of priorities and tracked priority projects in the STIPs over that time period. And again, we interviewed FDOT staff, MPO staff, and others to learn as much as we could about what were the project successes, what were the things that were holding up projects. I think it's important to recognize that our region is part of a much bigger region that FDOT District 1 has to maintain and oversee. The broader region is 12,000 square miles. We're about 1,300 of that. I think it's important because FDOT has limited resources and they have to spread the wealth to take care of the transportation system across that much broader region. So we first took a look at how many STIPs projects appeared in. 147 projects in the Sarasota Manatee County region were carried over in 5 or more STIPs. 43 in more than 8 STIPs. We also looked at programmed versus actual expenditures. Overall, the average is 82%, so a pretty good track record, just broadly for all projects in the region. But then we took a closer, well, In terms of discrepancies, early on in 2015, 42 million more was spent than programmed. Moving forward, that discrepancy changed direction, and in 2022, we had 78 million less spent than programmed overall. We also took a look specifically at LOPP projects, 36 of which have appeared in more than 5 STIPs, 22 in more than 8 STIPs. And when we look at that programmed versus actual for priority projects, we see a little bit of a different story. From 2015 to 2020, it was pretty good, but overall, compared to the 82% for all projects, for priority projects, it's only 63%. And over the last few years, we've seen a big gap in the wrong direction. So in 22 and 2023, only 30% of what was programmed on those priority projects was actually spent on them. So again, that's sort of the impetus for this study to see what's going on and what happened. We also looked specifically at SU funding, which, as you know, is the funding that the MPO has discretion over. 86% of which was programmed on priority projects, which is appropriate. But again, only 30% of what was programmed on those priorities was actually spent on the projects. Just walk you through a few success stories and a few of the not so successful stories. Starting with the successful ones, US 41 at Fruitville Road was completed in 2022, was in the STIP 6 years. And really the secret of this project was the City of Sarasota's commitment to the project and commitment to putting it ahead of other priorities. We all have lots of priorities. Sometimes we have to put the top one at the top and focus on that one project at the cost of other improvements. I-75 from Sumter Boulevard to Toledo Blade. This was only in the STIP for 2 years, completed last year. This is an example of a project where the department, the MPO, the City of Northport were all pointed in the same direction, working together to get the project accomplished. And then Honore Avenue ITS improvement. This was completed in 1 year. This is a good example of low-hanging fruit and the MPO's commitment to push forward these cost-affordable improvements to mitigate congestion. Some of the more challenging projects include the Palmetto Trails Network Plan. Initially, this was a project that was intended to better connect to the SunTrail system. PD&E was completed in 2021. What came out of that was a number of neighborhood connection projects. So the project sort of lost its focus and became many projects, and it's sort of been stalled since. 10th Avenue from 17th Street to Riverside. This one's been in the STIP 11 years, prioritized since 2017. This is a project that sort of changed hands back and forth from FDOT to the LAP agency, and just that lack of good coordination and communication has sort of stalled it. And finally, US 41 Blackburn Point to State Road 72, 11 years in the STIP. This one's a little bit misleading because it's a large project, a very long segment for which the costs have risen dramatically since it was first conceived. And so to deal with that, it's been sort of segmented, several portions of which have been completed. But again, rising costs, that's an issue that's affecting most projects. I think we're all very well aware of that. That's one of the big issues. So in conclusion, we interviewed FDOT staff. We did a lot of research to identify what are the issues that are holding projects up and how can we improve on project delivery based on those issues. And I'll walk through these one by one. But I think, again, the sort of the overarching thing here is communication, coordination, and collaboration. There's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of moving parts. We've got the local agencies, the MPO, the department, private utilities, the public, and sort of that coordination piece sort of touches all of these things. Starting with project scoping, when FDOT is presented with a project that is not well scoped, a good example is we need a safety improvement on this facility. It's difficult for the department to know what to do without doing further study. As that process unfolds, the scope can change. or often does change, leading to redesign, leading to increased costs and schedule impacts. So really, we think the key thing is to identify the goals of the project at the very beginning, scope it out as detailed as possible, and then to follow a formal scoping checklist along the way to prevent those redesigns and prevent those increased costs and schedule impacts. The utility coordination is a big one. This has affected a lot of projects. When utility conflicts are found during design, it's often too late. Not too late, but at that point, you've already invested a lot of money in the project. It has to be redesigned. It has to be, and sometimes it gets derailed because the utility conflicts are not surmountable. So early coordination with the utilities, between the utilities, the department, the MPO, again, that coordination piece is crucial, and to do it early in the process as a critical path scope item. Cost estimates, rising costs, we all know this is an issue. We can't really control this, but what we can do is as detailed cost estimates early in the process as possible, building in reasonable inflation rates, using recent bid and cost history to reflect market conditions, and then to revisit the cost estimates on a regular basis. You know, if we do initial project cost estimates, a year later we're in design, and those costs have doubled or tripled in some cases, it's kind of too late to deal with that. Whereas if we revisit those costs on a regular basis, we can see those things coming and adjust accordingly. Phasing and scheduling, this is really about bundling projects. This is something that FDOT is a big fan of doing. Identifying all the needs on a corridor. If FDOT is doing a resurfacing project, for example, it's important to know what other needs we have on that corridor so that we can achieve some economies of scale and instead of doing 5 separate projects, maybe do 1 or 2. Finally, again, as I said, coordination and communication are key to all of this. We think it's important, a couple of things. One, inclusivity, to make sure that the department, the MPO, and the local stakeholders are in the room at every meeting to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And then to establish a communication protocol that we can all follow to make sure that, that nothing falls through the cracks. So in summary, 4 key things: establishing clear goals early in the project development process to know what the scope is, what we're trying to accomplish. Utility coordination early in the process. Identify a project champion to coordinate broadly. One of the other things that we found is that oftentimes staff turnover, political turnover, can lead to a project sort of losing steam and falling off the tracks. So a transition process for projects when there is that turnover should be part of that protocol. And then again, agency partners need to participate in MPO committee meetings, and all parties need to stay on the same page and collaborate consistently across the project development process. So that's all I have for you. Happy to answer any questions.
Right, yes.
Thank you. I think one that I would like to maybe focus in a little bit on, thank you for this very helpful report, is a lot of times acquisitions and right-of-ways become extremely challenging in the process and can take years and years and years to get through the process. And I have found that personally within our county, we're trying to do something that seems very simple, but we're trying to say when we come across projects years in advance, even if we aren't even close to what we think we're going to be at, is when that's the timing that you need for those acquisitions and those right-of-ways. Because if you wait until the project is before you, you have now really put yourself in a very difficult position to be successful. Second of all, I would say that when there are multiple municipalities and or agencies involved, communication can be extremely challenging because, for example, I will say the diverging diamond right now at Fruitville intersection is an FDOT project. And although it's my district, I am like the last person who hears about any of the information for our constituents. And there's a tower that goes up right there, and we didn't even know about it until they were putting it on site. It wasn't on the plans, it wasn't in any of the notes, and it's like, So the challenge that I think we have to continually strive for is better communication. And how we do that, I wish I had the magic wand. But I think what's so critical is the relationships and the collaboration that you spoke about several times. I do think that is a key factor. And I do think that I would never say that we give too much information. I would rather err on that side than not enough, because I believe our constituents really do want to know what's going on and want to be a part of helping the whole project be successful. And so I think you said it 4 or 5 times about the importance of that. And those relationships are so critical. And so I think it's so important for all of us on this board and all the individuals sitting in this room to have that open dialogue. Even if you feel like you've said it 100 times, say it 101 times, and try to just continue those open dialogues so that we can better communicate. So thank you.
Of course.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the transportation investments analysis? All right, second. All right, we have Commissioner Mast and Mayor West. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All any opposed? Carries unanimously.
Good. Chair Brown.
All right, next we have Nick again.
Chair Brown.
Yes.
If I could just add to that
Yes.
item, one of the other initiatives that's underway is an update of the project prioritization criteria and process. And so with your adoption of these recommendations, those will be incorporated into that effort so that deliverability and constructability and fundability will become considerations that will help in the ranking of projects. So that the list that you adopt for annual list of priority projects should help make sure that all of the projects on that list are actually deliverable on a reasonable schedule, in consistent with the state's initiative and with your long time interests in getting projects that can be built.
Right. All right, thank you, Dave. Moving on.
All right. Yeah, so I'll be here presenting the results of our safety countermeasures performance monitoring study. And this really came about as a result of Destination Zero. We have this safety commitment. The MPO and all of our local partners talk about safety a lot. And we get questions of, okay, so what's actually being done? And the answer is a lot by FDOT, the MPO, and our locals. And we're aware of, we certainly follow our projects and FDOT projects, but part of the impetus for this study was seeing what the locals were doing and kind of creating a centralized place where we can see all the safety projects that have been implemented in the region. And then we wanted to use data to analyze these projects and see which are most effective. So we had our own projects. We reached out to the FDOT safety office. We also polled our TAC members for local projects. And as a result, we got 123 projects collected. And then we had those projects mapped and then did an analysis to see total number of crashes, fatal and serious injury crashes, as well as types of crashes and some mobility metrics. So the methodology that we used for safety, we looked at 3 years before and after construction and applied a buffer to those segments and essentially revisited the before and after. And then for mobility, we looked at 1 year before and after construction. And as a result, for safety with that 3-year buffer on either end, a lot of the projects we had submitted were more recent and didn't exactly have the 3-year buffer. So we weren't able to do analysis on a lot of those. But we were able to get 38, and the rest of those are just inventoried, and this is kind of a continuous monitoring, and we will certainly be revisiting with new projects as well as getting those ones analyzed. This is just kind of a visual. On the left there, you see the safety project segments. We apply a buffer. If the crash is within that buffer, it's included. If it's not, it's excluded, and then you can kind of see the buffer visualized there. So the overall results, looking at all sorts of safety countermeasures, so that could be roundabouts, lighting projects, sidewalks, etc. We essentially see a pretty similar takeaway that total crashes have increased. With growing population, that's to be expected to a certain extent, but we are seeing a reduction in fatal and serious crashes, as well as a reduction in nighttime crashes resulting in death or serious injury, as well as bike ped safety gains. So as far as specific projects go, a lot of what we found does align with national research on the subject. With roundabout projects, for example, we see an increase in total crashes, but with it replacing, say, a four-way intersection, we have far less angle and high-speed crashes. It's more fender benders, less crashes that result in death or serious injury. And similar with lighting projects, we found large improvements in nighttime crashes. And we also wanted to look at mobility to see if what kind of the trade-off, if there is any, between these safety improvements and traffic movement. And really, we looked at three metrics with travel time reliability, planning time index, and speed ratio. And other than roundabouts, which decrease speed but increased reliability, we found that these safety projects really do not have any sort of negative or positive impact on mobility. So you can implement these safety projects without interrupting traffic flow or increasing congestion. And so with that, the next steps is, as I mentioned, this is a continuous process. We have a lot of projects that we already have inventoried that we're going to revisit as time goes on and crash data becomes more available, as well as working with our local partners as well as FDOT to get new projects kind of included in that database. And then we're going to leverage these results to inform future safety action plans and to continue supporting performance-based, data-driven monitoring. And with that, I can take any questions anyone may have.
Any questions? Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the safety countermeasure performance monitoring.
So moved.
All right, I have Mast as first and Brenham as second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We got about 10 minutes, I think, to take a 5-minute break and then start our meeting at 11.
Yes, and we have two presentations.
Right.
They're both
Yeah.
pretty
They'll be fast.
short.
Okay, good.
If we could take if you could take that break just before the federal certification findings, we have Federal Highway that will attempt to present remotely. It's a very brief presentation. If we can get the Zoom working.
Or I can just do it. Either
Okay.
way.
All right, we're going to go with Nina now. Thank you, Nina.
Sure.
Start the MPO presentation, draft 2026 project priorities.
Thank you. So as part of your agenda packet was the draft 2026 list of project priorities. So we are making this list available for you now as it goes through a review process, making any necessary edits, corrections, changes. This was also presented to your technical advisory committee members, and so we are working with them to verify the projects, make sure that everything is as they should be. The draft list of project priorities is compiled in partnership with the local agencies. You all submit project priority applications to the MPO for funding consideration. We process those applications, we score the projects, and develop this draft list. This will come back to the MPO board for your adoption in March. A couple of things to note is that by February 20th, we are asking for local agencies to approve the projects that were submitted. This is sort of the last and final step of the submission process. So if it has not already come before your council or commission, it will be coming. And so that will need to be approved and submitted to the MPO to finalize those projects. Since the TAC meeting, I know that there are projects that have been flagged. There are projects, the details might change, they might move on the list, they might be added or removed. So I wanted to let you know that we are working with your staff on those projects. You'll also note that the list is reformatted from previous years, so it looks a little bit different. And this was for several reasons. One was with the adoption of the LRTP, it necessitated a reformatting of the list. But also, we have had feedback over the last few years and in our experience that we wanted to have the list better communicate what the MPO priorities are and also what the MPO priorities are generally. So The new list provides a little bit more language to draw a clear relationship between the LRTP and the project priorities. And it also clearly defines the different sections within the LRTP. So largely it's organized between projects that are currently in the 5-year adapted work program, projects that are unfunded priorities that we would like to get into the work program, and then projects that are considered unfunded needs. These are projects that do not have any funding identified for them in the long-range plan, but would otherwise be eligible for funding consideration. So if funding became available, they would be eligible for funding consideration. And then what we did as well was we took what previously was called the local needs list, which was sort of tacked onto the previous list, and we made it an appendix. And so we wanted to separate out the local needs, which are projects that are currently inconsistent with the long-range transportation plan and not eligible for funding consideration, even if funding became available. The only way that they would become eligible is if the long-range transportation plan was amended. So we wanted to draw those projects out and sort of put them on as an appendix for informational purposes only. We think that this will better communicate to our local partners, to FDOT, and the public what the MPO priorities are and really what needs to be lined up for funding. So with that, I'll take any questions, but we'll be working with your staff and bringing this back to you in March.
All right, any questions on that? All right, hearing none, so do we want to take a couple-minute break now?
That'd be great.
Okay, let's take about a 3 or 4 minute, just so they can get, hopefully, the virtual part up, and we'll be back here.
They're going to start one.
All right, we'll come back from recess, and unfortunately, the virtually isn't going to work out, so we're going to have our Deputy Director at the moment, Brian Brown, give us the presentation.
Thank you, sir. I will recognize that Dana Knox from Federal Highway Administration is online. She cannot participate at this moment, but I will cover the few things that we covered. As Grace previously mentioned, under our accomplishments, we did proceed with our quadrennial certification with Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration. It was a great little process. It's a little bit more refined than it was maybe in the past. We used to do in person. This was a virtual meeting for about a half a day. But we did cover a number of items, and they came back with just a few recommendations and no corrective action. So that's a great start. I will say here's the team that was part of the review. As I mentioned, 3 noteworthy practices, which I'll cover, 0 corrective actions, and then 2 recommendations, which I'll get into as well. Our noteworthy practices were based around the team in general and our organizational structure. Thanks to a recommendation from Mayor Brown and then the chair at the time, we did bring the PTTF into the board meeting, which is recognized as a noteworthy practice, as well as our efforts with our other advisory committees and expanding them to resiliency, safety, etc. Safety considerations within the planning process. We're kind of steadfast in our approach in expanding our safety efforts, not only in implementation, but also organizationally and how we operate as an organization. And lastly, our outreach and public participation. They recognized a lot of the work that Grace has done with the MPO website, as well as our feedback from our technical partners. Great news, no corrective actions on our operation after 4 years. So we will hopefully see that same result 4 years from now, but that's a great result. And then recommendations, I will add, we've already addressed these 2 prior to this report coming out. So both related to the Transportation Improvement Program, adding the GIS layer to our GeoHub. We have done that, and that is now able to be accessed through the MPO's GeoHub, as well as identifying long-range transportation plan page numbers into the tip. We had a conversation with FDOT and Federal Highway, and where that is possible, we have done that as well. So those are the 2 recommendations made by Federal Highway during this process. And with that, we did have a little conversation about training and technical assistance. They did offer to provide, when available, assistance on a number of ongoing issues, administrative, specific training. I will say, coming up with reauthorization at the federal level, that's something that we will certainly be working closely with Federal Highway and Transit Administration on over the next year or so. So I think that's pretty much it for a presentation, but I'll let Dave add as well.
Well, we did have a Ms. Knox indicate that she would like to attend a future MPO board meeting. They used to have a group that would come down to present these formally to an MPO board, and their staff in Tallahassee has been reduced from 9 or 10 people in the planning division to, two, maybe 3. And so they're, assisting and working to maintain the programs, and we'll see what reauthorization does. We don't anticipate them not having federal transportation funding. We're anticipating that, that there will continue to be a program. Some of the emphasis areas may shift, but that's why we do long-range planning, and we're set up to adapt to that, and we appreciate their support and their certification for another 4 years.
Right. Any questions?
And what makes this important is it keeps us eligible for the receipt of federal transportation funding within the entire region.
Any questions? All right, we're going to go to member comment, but before we do that, Dave and Ryan, I want to ask, is there any training coming up? Has it been planned with the MPOAC? I don't remember hearing about any current dates for newer board members or updating things.
They are talking about having something in the fall.
I think it
Yes,
was. So
yes.
So again, I think those are very good, and I think Amanda's trying to revamp it and make it a little bit more, as Councilwoman Coker would say, and there's a lot of words that I say at times, but the word soup, because it's just so many different terminologies that you don't want to break every meeting and say, what does that mean? What does that mean? And all of that. So I think it's good. So I'm glad and I remember talking about it, but I didn't know if it was sooner.
Coming up, they did have one that was in Palm Beach, and then they had the one in Tampa that some of you did go to.
Right. Yep. So, all right. So member comments. Anything to my left? Yes, sir.
I got just one thank you. We had the happy occasion last commission meeting last week to recognize the contractors and all the people that participated in completing a project for us on Longboat Key, which was through that 8 or 9 year process. We completed the turn lanes for about a half a mile on the south end of Longboat Key. Small project, but a big project to us. Vastly improved safety on and off that road, and on time, on budget. So we're very proud of that, very thankful for the MPO and for particularly FDOT in helping us respond to some late-breaking changes that needed to be made, and it's done. Thank you.
All right. Mayor West?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick question for Mr. Gaither. We have had, during Hurricane Milton, we lost 4 light poles on the Green Bridge between Palmetto and Bradenton. We just want to find out a status on those. We have been getting questions about it, so I just wanted to see if you could find that out for us when they would be delivered.
I was speaking with the mayor about this a little earlier.
All 4 of them that are down are on the Palmetto side, so it's not as no, it's our whole bridge, and I know they were talked about a year or so ago that it would take a while to get them in, but it seems like it's been a while now.
Very much so, and in the meantime, while the meeting was going on, and after our conversation, I did have, Wayne Gaither, for the record, FDOT. I did reach out to our folks. We are in the process of still compiling the materials that are needed. We've gone through a whole series, but we are in this vicinity working on them now. So the anticipation, fingers crossed that everything goes smooth, is we should be working on these areas within the next 2-week period. It may not be putting the poles up. It may be doing all the work that's necessary to prep to put the poles up. But the Green Bridge will have some special concerns with the MOT, meaning we'll have to close down a lane to install the new light poles.
We do have our River Regatta where it closes the bridge in February 20th and 21st. Yeah, so maybe if you could put that on the list where we have it closed for all day on Saturday, the 21st. So if we could have no construction at that time.
And that's Saturday, February 21st?
Right. Or if we're going to start it, wait till just after that. All right. Yes, Councilwoman Coker.
And with regard to that, will they close it down just for certain hours of the day? Because I can't even imagine the peak hours if you had to close one of the lanes on the Green Bridge.
Especially morning coming into Bradenton, afternoon going out to Palmetto.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
imagine.
Yeah, we can, and that was, I think, what Vice Chair Mass talked about, is just communication, so we can plan for it. And we work well with DOT, with Bradenton and Palmetto during the peak hours, morning coming in from Palmetto, afternoon going out, to make sure the lights are working and transportation lines. Even though sometimes people don't think it, they're making sure they're synced correctly. And then also, I just had one other, and Mr. Gaither and I talked about it, but just to mention it publicly if people hear it, and even some city staff working through it when they drive home now. We're very grateful that Manatee Avenue from 43rd Street all the way to the interstate to the east is pretty much paved now. In the west part of town, from 15th Street to 43rd Street, they finally got the divots, which are the manholes that are sometimes 3-4 inches, which when you're driving at speed limit, hit those, it's like going to break your car tires. But now east is that way, from probably 9th Street all the way to 43rd Street east, or a little bit maybe this way. But there's some that are huge, and yesterday I counted there's 25. So, and some of them, it looks like they have X's on them, like they're working on them. But that goes also to the coordination. Some of them are stormwater with the city. Some of them are DOT stormwater. Some of them are the utilities. So I would hope that maybe we could look at that in the future and try to plan it where before the road has got its final coat, they're lifted so we don't have, because they could cause an accident, and people are really, I'm getting a call 5 o'clock on Thursday last week, boom, 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 they're hitting, he said, I'm hitting them, and it's just, if we can check on that for us.
Not a problem. I've gotten a little bit of information on that as well. We're working with staff. Our staff is working with your staff to identify some specific locations. They've got 13 other sites that they've collectively defined and are looking to get those addressed within the next couple of weeks. It's just going to take a little bit of time to mobilize the crews. I'll bring up the additional location of 9th through 34th to make sure that's covered.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the time and the effort to let us know.
Thank you. All right, anything else? Hearing none, our next meeting is March 30th, 2026 at 9 a.m. here at the Doubletree. We will be adjourned going into our next meeting.
Yes, about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yep.
Move a few chairs and name tags around.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.